The beginning of the episode and the ending of the episode were very uncomfortable. We've been questioning, or you especially have been questioning the relationship between Alice and her mother since the very beginning, and we got a little more glimpse into their history, into their past, and it was just very dark and fucked up, to be quite frank. You know, we've known that she's used Alice to generate the money and the lifestyle that they live, but we didn't know how she treated her as a child, and the fact that she was using her essentially as currency to provide sexual favors for money or whatever else. The way that the actress played the scene showed the viewer that this was not a new thing. It appeared as if this was something that she had gone through before, and like I said, very uncomfortable sequence, but definitely establishing what this relationship is.
And I I thought that was kind of what their relationship was from the get-go, just because I got kind of those weird vibes from it. But seeing it play out was, I would have rather it just been a story than actually seeing that, because
Yeah.
that was rough.
Yeah, I think, I thought about that myself. Was it necessary to have that scene? But I think, especially when you look at the impact of the last scene, it was. And it wasn't till
Yes.
that final moment that I understood what the story we're being told, just how horrible this relationship is and how it's shaped and damaged Alice.
Yeah, Alice is the way she is because of her mom. I think that when she sold her off, or even, excuse me, I had brownies and milk.
This late? Jesus, dude.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a rough evening. But
Yeah.
seeing what she treated her, like how she used her, but then put it in this is what God wants. So her having a very skewed and fucked up version of what it is that God wants, Alice, is because of her mom. And that's you know, pro or anti-religion. People use different methods to achieve their own fucked up goals, and for her to use religion was her vice, and that's
Yeah,
rough.
because and you're right, the scene opened with her using religion, connecting it with her providing that service for the money, connecting them in that weird, twisted way. And yeah, like I said, very uncomfortable the way the whole scene played out, but it very much brings the whole season into a clearer view, because we've always had these uncomfortable feelings about their relationship, and now that we know truly where it started and the beginnings of it, that tells the tale of who they are.
Yeah, and we've speculated and discussed back and forth. Even when she was trying to leave the church, when she had all the bags packed and everything, this was her trying to avoid what happened at the end. But seeing it, you're just like, oh damn. Just knowing that she used Alice and was continuing to use her, she had this kind of pull over her. And that's not uncommon in children who are abused or anything like that. They still, all kids, whether you hate your parents or not, still want their parents' approval. They still want their, to be loved by their parents. They still love their parents regardless of how fucked up they are. And whether or not they go along with it or not, it's a different story. But to see that, and Alice still trying to seek her mom's approval even as an adult, that's rough to see that kind of grip that her mom has on her.
Um, so yeah, welcome to Pulp Mythos. I'm Brian here with Spencer, and yeah, we're discussing episode 7 of Perry Mason. It's a very grim episode, so usually we're cracking jokes and we're messing around here, but there was just a lot of brutal stuff in this episode, not just the opening. But if you want to hear us cracking jokes, stay tuned for the rest of the month. We are doing the Kurt Russell-a-thon. We'll be doing Kurt Russell movies reviews 2 a week every week for the month of August, so stay tuned for that. We appreciate all the comments. Marty Bowles, I'm sorry I messed your name up last time you corrected me in the comments last week. Thanks for pointing out in the comments that yes, there is a season 2. So, however things end next week, we will be getting a continuation of this story, which I'm excited for. And let's see, I think that's about it. Oh, we'll be doing Lovecraft Country. So when after the season finale next week of Perry Mason, we will be continuing our Sunday nights with HBO. That's what we should just call this show, Sunday nights with HBO, because we typically watch whatever they have on Sunday nights and talk about it. So we'll
I'm
be
down.
doing Lovecraft. Yeah, I mean, I'll think of that. We may rebrand it, but yes, Sunday nights we'll be doing Lovecraft Country. So getting back to Perry Mason. There's only one episode left. This was the big setup for the finale. And we get a point in which Perry sort of hits that rock bottom. A lot of bad things are going on. He doesn't know if he can win the case. Steve sort of makes a mistake, loses. God, I wrote his name down.
Pete loses Eric Seidel.
Seidel, yes. So then he quits the team, basically, and it's just like, I'm done. Perry learns that he lost the family farm, and there's a moment midway through the episode where he's just everything is falling apart around him.
Yeah, it throughout the episode, and if he doesn't win an Emmy for this, I mean, I don't know if they're going to do like telephone Emmys next time they do them. I don't know how they plan on doing award shows from here on out with the virus and everything, but I think that Matthew Ray's performance through this entire season is it's been stellar. He's done a great job watching him kind of go on this roller coaster, because he felt at the very beginning he goes and takes her Bible away from Emily, so she's actually engaged in what's going on. But when he basically hammers the DA and goes back and does such a great job, so he's on this high. He's like, hell yeah. And then the rest of the episode's downhill for him. But to watch his journey from feeling like he's doing a great job, feeling like he's got this lead, and then Pete comes and tells him about, connecting Eric and Enos and like all these things, you're like, oh shit. Like you feel it's great. Like they're putting pieces together, then all of a sudden it like kind of falls apart. And watching that journey was very well done. He did a great job.
You're right. He is on fire early in the episode. It's starting to come natural to him, being in the courtroom, knowing what to say, how far to go, how far to push the judge. And he even is able to basically unravel one of the biggest pieces of the mystery, in that why $100,000? Why that particular amount of money, and why to the Dodsons? And he has that big revelation that the church was short $100,000. Baggerly cut the funds, was no longer giving them the money that he was giving them, and then just so happens to 3 weeks later, Charlie Dodson is kidnapped, who's his grandson, and asked $100,000 is requested. So we're starting, the pieces are being filled in, and now Perry basically has to figure out how to connect it to proving that it's not Emily. And obviously by the end of the episode, we pretty much know exactly how things played out.
Yeah, and I liked how he controlled the courtroom. Even the DA, when he showed the dead baby picture to all the
Great
jurors.
Scene, yeah.
Yeah, he just was like, oh, okay, so an objection to this, but what does that picture have to do with your objection? And it looked that whole scene was great because the DA he could feel like the momentum was being swayed. He was just like, oh shit. And then when he was talking to what was his name? Something King, the old accountant before Gannon, when he pulls out that first like ledger and then he pulls out like 20 more ledgers, he's like, oh shit. Like the DA,
well, the spectacle
really,
of it, having
yeah,
Hazel come in with the books and the briefcase, and that whole, what the original classic series is known for, of Perry Mason putting on a show and sticking it to the bad guys. That this was showing us that.
yeah. And not only did Matthew do a great job, the whole supporting cast, even the DA, who I've been rooting to fail, like he does a great job playing the heel. He's it was like a WWE wrestler. He's doing a great job playing the asshole. And then Enos throughout the episode, that like crooked underhandedness of his, does a great job. Like I said, I don't know, other than Matthew, his performance as Perry stood out the most by far to me. But Alice, I think, is probably numero dos in that category.
So
Episode.
one of our frequent commenters is Marty Bowles, and you asked, you had a bunch of questions from the last episode. One of them being, who's Ennis basically going to kill, or who does he need to kill? And we learned that it was basically two people. First being Elder Seidel, and I don't mean to laugh, but the scene is so over the top violent.
Oh, it was fantastic.
I did laugh. I'm sorry.
I laughed.
Certainly, I enjoy horror films and ridiculous over the top stuff, and that scene was so damn ridiculous that he's going to do this sort of assassination, if you will, and he does it in the most over the top way. He just stabs a guy like 40 times.
Well, I was sitting there watching it with Megan, and we were talking. I was just like, she was like, "Is he really going to let him go?" And I said, "Fuck no, he's not going to let him go." And then, like within a second, he like stabs him in the throat, and we were both like, "Is he stabbing him?" Because you couldn't tell that he really was holding the knife. And then you see one of the times where he like pulls out, and then goes to stab him again, and you're like, "Oh no!" And then he stabs him. He takes him to the ground, and then stabs him another 10, 15 times.
I'm so used to, as a fan of The Sopranos or The Wire, the hits are so quick to the point, with a few exceptions, obviously, if they're trying to make a point, but, Boardwalk Empire, stuff like that. In this, it was just like, no, he was just brutally stabbing a man to death. I don't know if there was a reason to that, if he's going to have in other words, is the body going to end up somewhere for some reason, or is he going to completely disappear the body? I don't know.
Well, I think that even when they were talking about him and Holcomb,
that Cooper's
scared him. Megan walked in the bedroom and McGruff was sitting by the door.
Oh, McGruff.
Yeah. She spooked him. He's trying to protect me.
It's a big ass dog, ladies and gentlemen.
He's like a 7-month-old puppy, but he's already like 70 pounds, and he can put his hands on my shoulders, and I'm 6'3". So he's a big ass dog already. But stabbing. What were we talking about? I got distracted by the dog trying to save my life.
How over the top the murder was, and then I don't know where you were going.
I don't either. It doesn't matter.
All right. Okay. Let's see here. So Steve quits the group. Now, based on the preview for next week, it looks like he's going to pop back in. But the setup clearly for season 2 is Paul Drake. Drake and Mason are, partners essentially. Drake is the investigator, and this episode was the one that was like, yes, it's the complete setup of those two being partners. I love the little banter, the little comedy, them going to the brothel, trying to figure out the case, and basically everything going wrong for Perry Mason, him about to get beat up or murdered, and Paul Drake being there to save him. Basically, I loved all that whole sequence. I love the interaction between the two characters. It's got me really excited for season 2 to see more of them.
Well, I think that Pete, although he did quit, I think that even from the get go, they're talking about how it's Good Friday and it's all this stuff, and Perry tells Pete, "Yeah, I want you to follow him all weekend. I don't care." And he's like, "Really? I just got back in town." He's like, "I don't care. You need to tail him." So I don't think that Pete's going to be gone for good, even if he doesn't, die or whatever. I think that Pete may be a kind of in and out character. He may, help them. Like Paul may, go and ask him, "Hey, I need help trying to find this guy," or whoever. I think that he'll still be around, but I think, like you said, that Drake is going to be the main investigator for him.
Speaking of the brothel sequence, the fight specifically, and there's a part where Steve it's like a protest or something. He's walking through, and then we have the ending sequence, which we'll talk about in a minute. The technical side of this episode was very impressive. I talk about that a lot on this channel just because I enjoy looking at films and shows and behind the scenes, and I like how things like, the technical side of filmmaking. But having crowds that large, having to navigate, the camera, the actors, knowing, making sure they hit their marks, and that all plays out. This episode had a lot of that. Including the scene of Mason getting his ass kicked at the brothel. Like, that takes work. And so it was interesting that just one episode had so many sequences like that, as opposed to usually you would do one, scene like that.
Well, like you said, during a brothel, when they were trying to, escort him out and whoop his ass, that's in a narrow hallway. The middle part of the episode where Pete was trying to get Seidel, and it looked like...
Was I saying Steve? Did I say Steve?
You said Steve one time.
I meant to say Pete. Yeah,
I know. I was just going to let it go. That's why I corrected it, but I was
it popped whatever in my brain as you said it, and I was like, oh shit, I did say Steve.
So, I corrected you immediately after that, just to make sure we're on the same page. I was like, shit, is there a Steve? I was like, I don't remember a Steve. But but he was, trying to, and it looked like a union rally about, because I was trying to read the picket signs and I didn't catch all of them. It looked like veterans fighting for more pay or something. They were asking for their bonuses or something. Yeah. So I don't know if it was the World War I vets or what, I'm assuming. But, even during that scene, you're talking about technical parts. It's a huge, it's a shit ton of characters walking through the middle of the street. Him trying to follow the camera, picking up multiple angles, trying to, track him through this crowd. And then, at the end, there's several courtroom scenes that were really big. And then, like you said, the whole graveyard scene. And so these huge production scenes with multiple people, multiple camera angles, multiple, probably shots being done.
Stunts, and a couple of those sequences.
It was a huge testament to HBO and whoever it is that they're subcontracting all this extra shit out to, because they're doing an excellent job.
We keep going back to the brothel, but it was a major centerpiece, and it was very important to the story. Basically, the revelation that they kidnapped the babe. They kidnapped Charlie. They were getting the 100,000 ransom. Charlie, still an infant, needed to be fed, so they went to the brothel, brought back one of the women who was to nurse Charlie to calm him down. Unfortunately, she was addicted to heroin, and I guess I'm assuming she did a lot of heroin, enough to where it had affected her body and her milk, and it seems that that's what killed Charlie. So a lot of pieces laid out, and of course she turns up dead, and where it alludes to the fact that Enos came and got her and I guess killed her. So there was a funny, as dark as that, there was a funny joke by the coroner about the body. He's like, if this body ends up in a bowling alley with a party hat on. It's like I'm gonna kill you.
What, not like a claw hammer or something like
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
Well, I love the coroner, and he made
Great
me laugh.
character.
But
Yeah.
talking about parts that made me laugh too was him flipping through the fetish book, trying to pick what
Yes,
he
that was a
wanted,
great,
dude.
great little comedy scene.
Because like all the different things, and it took me a second when he picked the breast milk one. I was like, "What the
Yeah.
fuck is he getting at?" And then I was like, "Oh yeah," but it took me a second because he's flipping through the pages, and it's like hand job, piss fetish, like it was all kinds of random shit. And then when that one popped up, I was like, "Oh yeah, okay." But it took
Yeah,
me a second to piece them together because I got sidetracked by all the hand drawn weird fetish book thing.
yeah. The tying into that whole sequence, like I said, he had all the Paul Drake stuff, and then the Perry Mason. It's the show. It's funny. It's a serious sort of courtroom procedural type thing, but there's a lot of serious stuff that happens in it, and I don't know. HBO is pretty good about that kind of storytelling.
Yeah, I agree. I think they do a great job with pacing the story, and that I think goes back to hiring directors who know what the hell they're doing, and they do a great job making it to where with their limited amount of screen time that they actually have episodes that mean stuff, and there's not a lot of filler episodes.
There was a nice little sequence in the episode, not super important to the plot, but important. I just enjoyed the scene, so I'm going to talk about it. The radio drama scene. I like seeing how they shot it. I like. I don't know. We forget that radio dramas were like a big deal and back in the day, and they're sort of making a little bit of a comeback lately. And I don't know. I just like that they included that in there. And of course, it was a story moment because it had the guy that was in the wheelchair revealing that he was not healed, and basically saying that Alice was fake and a scam, and then her saying he didn't have enough faith. So that was the important story part of it. But I like the sound of I just like the whole sequence basically.
Well, we went to Star Wars Celebration, and I referenced this in one of the other videos. I don't remember which one, but that was my favorite part when we went. Was they did a radio drama with
Yes, that was
yeah,
fun. Yeah,
like was it Bradley D. Baker did all the like alien voices and
yeah.
stuff, and it was great. So to see him do that was pretty awesome. But I think that it was important though because later when he referenced all the money,
Mm,
he was talking about how much do they spend to get the radio station because they bought a radio station.
true. Yeah.
So I think that a couple of the things were tying into how much money they were losing to try and get ahead. So I think that was one of those things. And also, like you said, I think it set up Alice later also because uh, having Alice be put on the spot, that was telling whether or not she was going to kind of flip the script and try and kind of go back on her word or just keep plugging forward. And she kept plugging forward. So she keeps
So
digging herself in this hole. But
I'm going to run through the events of the ending, and then we can dig into it. Uh, so basically, they're heading to the cemetery where Charlie was buried. It's Easter Sunday. Perry Mason is doing his damnedest to get Emily to get out of the car. He doesn't want her involved in this. He thinks it's going to make her look bad. You know, the trial is almost over. He doesn't feel that he's won it yet. And so we get to the grave site. Everybody's there. They dig up the coffin. They open it, and there's nothing inside of it. Everyone flips out. They beat the shit out of everyone. We have this crazy escape sequence. Everybody's trying to escape. Blood, fighting, people jumping on cars, busting in windows. Very, like we were saying earlier, technically, very, elaborate sequence. We then have Alice's mother lead the vehicle off to another road. She clearly has what appears to have staged an event in which a young baby, which I guess she bought, I don't know how that's going to play out, but she must have somehow come into possession of an infant, and basically is declaring it is Charlie. Charlie has been resurrected. You did this, Alice. Alice has that moment of, she freaks out. She sort of This is my interpretation. I want to hear yours. It's a moment of realization of her whole life is a lie. Everything is crashing down around her, and all she can do is run. That's all she can do is run, which leads to the ending sequence. Do you think that's what she's thinking, or do you think it was something else? And I'd like to
Well,
hear anyone in the comments, because obviously this is just my guess, or my, what I'm interpreting based on what I saw.
after watching the scene, I kind of go back to the radio scene, and then the previous scene where she was talking about her mom was trying to get all these endorsements, whether it's cigarettes or whatever. Going back to what we've said before, is that her mom is peddling her, using her. So when her mom wasn't initially on board with this whole resurrect Charlie thing, but I think that the mom made sure the baby wasn't in there, and then, like you said, orchestrated this whole thing at the end. But even when she was condemning the person in the wheelchair for having a lack of faith, you could tell that she didn't want to do that, but she was kind of painted into a corner.
Yes,
yeah. So that was her response. So now, when they took the right, I don't think that she let Alice know what was going on. So now they pull up on this scene, and her mom's like, this is a sign from God. Flash back to the beginning of the episode where she was using God as basically leverage to get her daughter to do what she wanted. She was trying to do that again, trying to get her daughter on board with this is Charlie. This is Charlie. I think that, I don't know if it's brainwashed or if she's special needs, or if she's just that been abused that much that she doesn't know right from wrong. But I think that she's starting to see through the veil. Like Alice is starting to see what her mom is doing.
Yes,
and that's what I got from it.
I agree 100%. You said it better than I did, but that's what I was trying to say. Yes, I completely agree that it was that, like I said, a moment of realization that it's all been bullshit, and that, you're right, her mom has been playing her, essentially using her, and she couldn't do anything else. It was that moment of, she could run, fight or flight type thing.
Well, and that's the thing. She's been fighting her whole life, basically on behalf of her mom, defending her and doing all these things. And now she's like, holy shit, my mom's been lying to me and screwing me over all this time. She's been using me. And then she's like, well fuck you, mom.
Yeah.
Just pieces out.
So that's roughly everything, all the major points that happened. There were a few little things that happened here and there. Before we get into our predictions for next week, do you have anything else, any other moments in the episode you want to talk about?
Well, I just thought it was cool. To me, it wasn't as big plot point wise, but the Lupe, when his house foreclosed, and she's like, I just want to let you know that I bought your house. I think that it won't jade him a little bit, but I think that it'll play into the further episodes and maybe next season. Oh, excuse me. That he will be less trusting. He trusted her. He felt like they were in a relationship, and she screwed him. Now, she did say, hey, this was just business. I did like you, but, sorry, I'm a businesswoman. But I think that was setting the stage up for maybe a thing that'll happen next season. I don't think that it felt kind of unimportant, but I think that just like the end of Logan Lucky and some of the other things that we've watched, I think they're planting seeds for further episodes, and fortunately, this has been greenlit, so I think
Yeah.
we'll see that play out a little bit next season.
So how does this end? I truly believe Ennis will get his. I'm pretty confident in that statement. I have no idea what they're going to do with Alice and her mother. And Emily, I think she'll get off. I really do. Oh, I could be wrong on that, but the only thing I'm pretty confident in is Ennis will, uh, some kind of justice will be achieved through him. He's just been too bad for the, you know what I mean? I just can't imagine him not dying or getting arrested or whatever.
Well, the only way I see him making it is if um, maybe like I mean, there wasn't Rico back in those days. That was done later. But if they wanted to tie him maybe to other crooked cop things, so maybe that's the only way that he wouldn't get all of his in this season. There was a part, though, I don't remember. I think it was in the trailer for next episode that made me unsure whether or not Emily was in on it.
See, that's why I
And
think I said
there's
that
a
a couple
line.
weeks ago. I wasn't sure still.
There's a line this episode that made me even more unsure.
What was that?
Where she was talking about George, and I think she was talking to Alice about
When
George
they were
Gannon.
smoking? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And she was talking about how he saw Charlie is his. He loved Charlie and all this stuff. So I'm not 100% sure that she didn't try to help George. Like now, I think that Enos fucked up when he got her somebody to feed the baby, and then
Yes.
the baby died, and it all went left. So
The baby was never supposed to die. I think that's
Yeah.
pretty clear. But at this point, yeah.
but I'm not 100% sure that she wasn't in on it. Because I think that now, was she manipulated by George a little bit? Yeah. But it's still her responsibility to protect her child. And
Yes.
just like any parent, guy, dad or mom, like that is legit. Those kids didn't sign up to be born. So when you have a kid, you're supposed to take on that role. Like it is legit your one and only job. And sometimes when you fail at that, it is the hardest, guilt-wrenching thing. But to basically put them in harm's way, which is what I believe she did. I don't know whether she did or not. But that is a failure as a parent. You done goofed. You fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, you might be right. I think it was a week or two ago I questioned that possibility. Like, wouldn't that be a hell of a twist if she was guilty, if she was involved, in the kidnapping? You might be right. I'm not 100% sure on that one. I would be shocked if Ennis didn't get caught. But like you said, we are setting up a season 2, so who knows?
Well, and I think too that we've had one of the comments talk about how he only didn't win a couple of the cases. This may be something where it shows that he doesn't win the case because he finds out she's in on it, or if it shows how good of a lawyer he is, or how good or how far he will go to win and still get her off, even though he knows that she was in on it. So I think that it could go either way as far as Perry goes. I don't know. If we're trying to root for him, I hope that they don't do the latter. But
yeah. Well, I've enjoyed the hell out of this season. I've enjoyed the show itself. Prepping for these reviews, doing these reviews. It's been a fun experience, and I am definitely looking forward to the second season whenever it happens. And like I said, we'll be continuing these reviews with Lovecraft Country, so that'll be fun. Anything else?
Nah, yeah, I don't think so.
All right. We hope you guys enjoy this. Like I said, Kurt Russell-a-thon starting this week. There will be 2 reviews at some point this week. I know the dates. I just don't want to say them in case they don't make the dates. But I think they will. So look forward to that. Oh, and I shot and did a whole intro for it. So check that out. At least watch the first minute of one of them, so you can see that.
I think the next one we're going to do is we're going to do Val Kilmer-a-thon and then watch Tombstone again
do it again.
and continue another 2 hour.
The Salton Sea, dude. Love that movie. I have a tattoo because of that movie. That's a true story. So, all right. Gonna leave
It
on
just
that
says it just says Salt Life.
note. I have. All right.
It's a Salt Life tattoo with the.
I was going to go into detail on the tattoo, but I think it's better if it's a mystery to the audience. So you have to go look up that movie and make a prediction of what my tattoo is. And
I just told them. You got to live, laugh, love tattoo.
All right.
Life's a beach.
See y'all next time.
Oh, shit.
Right.
Bye.
Bye.